Happy Wednesday to you guys. This is fun. I don't have as much of a topic today than uh hopefully inspiring conversation. So I don't know how many people are going to turn up for something that's less defined and more dialogue. I can't really get a sense of if people want to put their self out there and have open conversations about things. But definitely been feeling more and more of a shift in people in the industry and just trying to think through what's causing it, what you guys are seeing, what questions might come from that. I think John, I don't know, John, I don't know if you're around yet or not. There's there's a fourth person in the room. So we'll just wait and see who else pops up. But how's the year going for you guys?
When you say shift, what do you mean? Like what kind of shift?
A lot of people are feeling it mostly in, we've always been like kind of fighting the beast of the clients asking for more with less money. That's kind of how we summarize issues a lot. So there's something more, I don't know, universal in that quality right now. And that a lot of almost every segment of the industry is getting that push from clients of and brands of all sizes. So major film studios and um, small agencies and one-off brands are all kind of doing the same thing. They're all kind of asking for more with less money, or at least the money amount. Hey, Ed. And the amount of work they're asking for from us is not really um, in balance, let's say. Um, hey guys. Oh, good, Vasil. I'm glad you're here because I'm pretty sure some of the conversation today is going to be around some of the shift in technology and the demand that's out there. So
Sounds good, guys. I'm ready
oh,
to answer
I'm
any
gonna
questions.
I'll
Yep.
punt this over to you when it gets too, or just tell me when I have it wrong, flat out. Um, Lauda just asked me about the kind of I I proposed in this conversation, like an ask me anything, but more in this idea of like there's a shift happening. It's not really clearly defined what the issue is, but it's kind of a global and universal movement taking place. Most of us are feeling it in the clients are asking us to do more with less money. And it's what's weird for me and strange for me is just how truly universal it is, from print clients that I have working with major studios to anybody in the entertainment space is definitely feeling it. Advertising it is getting more and more and more demand, more formats, more um, you know output, different variety, whatever, for truly less dollars. It's like there is fewer dollars in the marketplace. So that's how we're feeling it. And I think that's the shift that many of us are trying to kind of work through. I think many of us are being squeezed in that area too. Um, does anybody have a sense of any segment that you know of that seems to not be touched by a little bit of that pressure? Kind of the pressure on the bottom line or the pressure on the top line? Yeah, you have an area, Ed?
I mean, I feel like everyone is asking that, but like we do, for better or worse, we do a kind of diverse group of work that's like entertainment and docs and direct to brand and like trade shows and things like that. And the trade show thing is one thing that like I feel like everyone is still always asking like how can we keep it, as low as possible and needs the justifying still, but it's making a lot of revenue for them. So I feel like at that point, like I see it less there than I do in like when someone's like um looking for a traditional like social post or spot or something.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, like activation in a way. So people that can see their client face to face and see the transactions kind of know what that investment is for, and then how many names or opportunities you're going to gain from going to a trade show or doing any kind of like real world activation item. That's interesting. Yeah, instead of like digital output, right, where it's how many JPEGs you can make, or QuickTime movies can you output in different formats and sizes. When it comes to an activation, those demands are not the same.
Or even on our end, if it is like, it might be content for like a few days worth for a show. So it still might be digital stuff, but it's prioritized higher, like
Yeah,
things get pushed through faster. Um, and feels like there's a little bit more wiggle room on stuff.
yeah. Are you guys getting a sense that clients are not, they're somewhat diversifying the demands as well? So not just in that there are more people pitching or more people in on a proposal when the client first calls you, but where you might have had some loyalty with a client and done a broader amount of work for them, they seem to be spreading out who they're working with and gaining and trying to like find as many options as possible, and almost internally coordinating this and finding their own specialists instead of giving it over to one service bureau that finds all the specialists for them. They're kind of doing it in-house and sourcing that stuff in-house. Are you seeing any shifts like that as well? It's called like the optionality shifts is what I'm kind of looking at there.
I think that there's so much going on in the world, like with AI and the political world and everything. I think that all that is happening is creating like a impact on everyone, and many, I think that they're saving money or they're afraid of spending more in something. And some are using AI to, I don't know. I think that at the beginning they were replacing artists, but now I think they're shifting in the sense that they're noticing that they need a creative eye. They need someone to lead, because if they don't, if anyone can use AI, but if they don't know the basics of design or audiovisual or animation or anything, they won't be able to do something right. So I think that right now everything is so like in a balance, like everything is confusing. There's a lot of like in music, there's a lot of artists that are mad at AI, and they're talking about Berkeley College of Music, that started a course on of compositing with AI,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. So I've seen that it's still like there's still anger with artists, and there's all this in Disney that they
Yeah.
fired like 1,000 people, something like that, with the new leadership. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of
probably
things happening, but it's weird because it's improving. I don't know. It's weird what is happening right now, but I think it's affecting all that.
yeah, but so you're probably seeing the most like front end of this trend when it comes to like, getting out a lot of variety of different outputs using the same, basic design principles, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend at NVIDIA who's a head developer, and for them, it's like what he told me is customization and volume is what they're trying to do for and what they're predicting. So maybe that's where some of the workforce is getting cut, is that volume part. Maybe AI is helping with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like illustrators and designers, and we work a lot with media monks and or monks as they're called, and they had an office where they had 30 illustrators, and they're all gone. Like everybody just got laid off. So that's, I think, that biggest impact is happening in some places like that. Um, but I can't, again, like Laura, to your point, AI can't just throw AI and everything. You need someone to run it. So maybe some of those positions will come back, and maybe people are overreacting right now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the human factor is essential.
the volume game definitely seems to be one of the places people are pushing the most when it comes to the technology shift. Um, to me, like I almost feel like we're actually being asked for way more than we've ever been asked for in the past. because there is technology that now allows for, all the variety and different outputs. The assumption is that it doesn't take much work to get that done, or they don't want to source it anywhere else. They want to almost say, hey, you designed it, how about you make sure and oversee all of the different varieties. Where for a while, for the longest time, it seems actually that they might have taken a design and maybe even our project files and then had an in-house team kicking out all the different varieties. Now it feels like they're kind of just keeping it all in one family. And for some of us, it's kind of frustrating because we didn't really have to deal with all that variety before and put that into our project budget or whatever. It was kind of nice just being the designer and animators and whatever and walking away. Although I do feel like we've been asking for it for years too. It's like as an opportunity to gain more revenue. Now they're just like, no more revenue. Just do all the work we used to do in house. Yeah. What else are you guys kind of seeing out there? Just as part of a shift.
Something that I've heard a lot is also the legal part of using AI. If you use AI for everything, it's not yours. You can't sell it. You can't do anything. And also, I think that also is shifting the way that they're using AI tools and seeing like that you need a human, you need original drafts, original pieces, and then use AI as an extended piece, not as a creator. So I think that as Basil is, I don't know, am I saying it right?
Vasil.
Basil?
Yeah, I agree with that.
As you said, I think that also that will bring back all these jobs that many artists have lost. I think that they are gonna realize that we need those humans and that we need those creations to be able to continue selling and well, what do you say, the theme about revenue and all this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the ownership piece of it's pretty interesting to just, it does feel like, within those conversations, it does feel like more and more the work is kind of just passing through us and we're really just commoditized workers at that point. We're there as a convenience. This is what it feels like. I don't think this is the reality of why we're being hired, but it kind of feels like we're just there as a convenience of like, well, you're available. Can you just do all this for us? Instead of maybe being recognized or feeling like you have some control to graduate yourself through a relationship with a client.
Yeah, I guess another thing is what we're seeing is kind of even in your group, Tim, that we joined, there was a company that's doing something similar where you are pairing up designers and developers together. And not only are they trying, similar to us, to generate the content with systems, but also generate the creative for the content. So, for example, like the agent will pull in news information that's relevant to the brand and then generate little snippets for the animations, and then put that all together into one system. So, yeah, designers and developers and even like I guess marketing teams are all kind of integrating together on a technology level, which is really interesting. So
Yeah.
potentially that's where things could be moving as well. Yeah.
Are you guys feeling, or do you guys think this has any strain on our relationships with our clients? Are you noticing anything of how the clients treat you, or how often they call, or maybe how much they seem to trust your ability to handle the projects they're giving you?
Sorry, in what sense?
I'm just wondering, like, with the technology shift, are you seeing a different, are you recognizing any difference in the relationships you're having with the clients? Like, do they commoditize you more? Do they seem to trust you more or less to get things done? Are they using you for fewer and fewer of your skills that they used to use you for? I mean, I guess the easy way, do you find your clients are less loyal nowadays than they've been in the past?
Yes, I mean, in our case, as far as the motion design work, it's like we were also, working with some of the agencies. We were touting ourselves as like we're outside the US, we can provide better value through our network of people. And we're noticing that they're going to like Mexico even more and other places. And the budgets that these are newer studios are sending compared to our budgets are like even we're like, well, how are these guys working? It's just like so yeah, we're seeing that a lot. Some of the agency clients like, okay, you've done it for 100, now this studio is doing it for 50. And we're like, what the, get out of here.
Yeah.
We're not
The other
it's
studio hasn't
getting
figured out that they're
absurd.
losing money on every project yet. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
I don't know. They don't care. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in the
Um,
entertainment space, I feel like there are actually companies going out of business at a really fast pace. In that field for almost the same reason you're saying there, Vasile. It's like the industry and the brands are just asking for the cheapest work possible, putting really crazy demands and not caring about their vendors. And the vendors are just trying to keep up with it. And then those who don't have a lot of like either a large enough war chest to kind of deal with the ups and downs or enough resilience to kind of push back with their clients or determine some other way of doing the work, they're just going out of business. And I've heard some rumors recently of some of the really, really large entertainment agencies are really suffering and people are leaving at a faster pace than before. So usually what that means is people will spread out and create even more competition instead of all under one roof. So yeah, I can see that starting to happen a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen that in entertainment for quite a while now. I mean, outside of like the documentary side and some sports work, we used to do a lot of different entertainment based work. Um, and I feel like there's been a couple things I've noticed. I've seen like as there's been well, there's continues to be, but as like the mergers happened, departments are shrinking, obviously, but then departments between like the top levels of the companies have been going in and like tapping each other to do stuff. Um, which is weird because there's less people to do it, but at the same time, there's work there. But it's like, hey, this department from this thing is going to help us make this thing that you used to make, because it's free for them, right? Like it's
Yeah.
internal hours based in the same giant umbrella. And then I've also seen stuff that's like, um, this was even a little while back, but like we had turned down stuff that was like, it's a major like IP movie release, and they want to do some like D2C, um, like merch spots, basically. Nothing hard, but there was like 8 of them with 30s and 15s and 6s, and the budget was a bad budget to do one.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
exactly what it
unfortunately,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's not the point to be like, you know, and for that one, that was like we haven't heard back in a while from them, but that was like the third one in a row. Like we did the favor one, and then we turned one down, and then that was like we can give you a real quote for it, but this is what it's going to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then I haven't heard back on that side, but yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that where, we used to, even though it's been said for 100 years, like don't pitch or don't pitch for free or whatever. What if you summarize what that's about is the more valuable thing that we come up with is our designs and our design concepts. And we often present those design concepts during the pitch phase. So either the client gave us some money or we've designed it in order to pitch it. And that's the concept stage. And we often use that to win the pitch in order to do what we'll call the production stage, the stage where you get it done, give them a budget, book your team for 6 weeks because you spent 3 days doing a design concept phase or whatever. And even though that second part has a commodity element to it, we've often always got paid on the production side, not got paid as well or upfront for the design side. What's more interesting nowadays is how much the design phase is definitely being disrespected as it always has, but then the production phase is pulled away. So really there are, clients out there asking for like just the design part of it with the knowledge that we're going to do something on the production side, either bring it in-house and have the in-house team do it, or actually kind of split their vendors. And they say, hey, we want you to design it, but we're going to give it to someone else who has cheaper production cost to it. And we either haven't caught on to that issue or caught up with those issues. And we haven't yet really priced ourselves for those design concepts. And by the way, the clients aren't going to pay for them. They've been so spoiled that that's always been the cheap or the free stuff that we've done. That they're really taking advantage of that. And I think that's one of the shifts that is kind of hard for production companies to get used to. Is we have bids, we have templates, we have documents like crazy to explain the production phase, and we have very little documents or requests or bidding for just the design phase. And knowing how we could price the design phase, ask for that, own it or whatever, and be willing to let go of production if the clients are doing it. But that diversification of the workforce, I guess, and diversification of their vendors, even within one project, seems to definitely be picking up. Yeah, I'm almost like some clients I've been there are some companies I've advised them to just do the production, like almost be, and it's so this is a design world and a creative space, but some people are not set up for their creative team to really lean in and win on the creative side that they can possibly leverage up. They've spent most of their time and most of their career on the production side and have a lot of amazing ideas and innovations on the production pipeline, and they won't really be able to compete in the long run on the design side. So either it's a total reboot of their team, because a lot of bad habits have been created, and it's hard to teach a salesperson or a production person to think differently if they've been doing something for a long time, or just stick with production, maybe just for a season, or maybe that's just a business plan. But that's kind of a new assessment and advice I haven't been needed to give people recently. I'm not used to that. Usually I'm just like, the creative has to win, fight for the creative, and production's just production. But nowadays I feel a little bit differently about that.
I think there's also studios or companies that are changing the way they do things, as well as how they sell their craft. And some are rethinking if they should continue on that path that they were using, or if to change, and because they become stronger on one of the lines they worked on. So maybe this will be stronger and this will thrive in a sense.
Yeah.
So I've seen also that there's a lot of studios that have changed their craft, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Is that regionally? Like, Vasil, you're in Argentina. Laura, you're in Colombia?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have a sense of if your market is being taken advantage of or being given work differently than in a US market and a European market. Like, do you feel like the production work is being handed off more and less of the design work with clients?
Depends. I mean, we do a lot of stuff for Europe, and a lot of production for US. So design for Europe and production for US, and then software building for US now. So doesn't really, yeah, there's no separation.
Oh,
Just
interesting.
wherever he get the job, you know? Whoever pays the bills, let's go.
In other words, you just say
Uh,
yes.
yes,
Yes,
Tim,
yes.
yes. No, I just also wanted to kind of point out there's like another emerging thing that I'm noticing, which I mentioned before, and I had a talk with a friend of mine who became he was a 3D designer, but he became a lead developer in NVIDIA. And what he told me is pretty fascinating. He's a 3D artist that is becoming a programmer. And what they're doing is they're building digital twins in 3D of factories. For one is for BMW and one is for Mercedes. And he's doing all this 3D work to simulate what the workers are doing inside a factory. And then what they do is they set up a robot with little cameras on it in a 3D environment, and they train the robot inside the factory. So it's like it's
Wow.
3D work, but it's work for training robots. It's very strange. So there's kind of like other things that are popping up for, X motion graphics people too. So hopefully there's more opportunities like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard where they're developing language models by building a 3D space or whatever, and then using the designer and the world that they created to get a robot or like an AI bot inside there to start learning what the world, and so it's not a real world model, but it's like someone's version of that. And that translation, from through the human's point of view of what an ideal world would look like is one of the critiques there. It's like the real world isn't necessarily that clean and pretty. Um, yeah, pretty interesting though, isn't it? The technology evolution that's there. Many of us, I think, are inspired, got into this industry because we were inspired by the creative stuff we were seeing. We were watching commercials, watching promos, watching title sequences, that kind of stuff, and thought that those commercial graphics were pretty amazing, and to see ourselves having a career in that. It wasn't really based around the technology part of it. We used the technology as a skill to get the creative out, but I feel like that's one of the segments we're seeing. It's probably why a lot of studios that I'm talking to haven't lost revenue. It's not a revenue shift where people are like, oh, we're not making our numbers. That's, for the most part, everyone's kind of making their numbers. And they're not being squeezed by their artists. It's not like everyone's asking for high demand or higher payments or whatever, like we've seen in COVID and other places where people are asking for such, high dollars for their skill that they have. It's not a squeeze that way. The squeeze is more just in the request that the clients ask for, and almost on a project by project basis, they feel like they have to recreate the wheel. It's not like there's a specialty you have and there's a way of doing it, and it's only like the creative aesthetic is it's not the only thing changing. It's actually the production pipeline seems to be changing more and more often, adding in new technologies or doing different outputs. And so it's kind of a squeeze that way. And the clients aren't compensating a lot of you guys for inventing a new pipeline just for their project. They kind of assuming like you would have already had it in place, or if not, you're going to be able to use it. But even if you develop one pipeline, at the end of that project, you almost like throw it away and get ready for the next pipeline you have to build out. So that's a kind of a newer trend.
They don't know that. They don't know the process. They think that it's easier. You press a button
Yeah.
and it makes everything. So they don't realize the kind of work you have to do to use AI in a proper way. So I think it's that. And it's funny that you mentioned also that you don't want that the real world is not that clean. It's funny and ironic how we were always looking for perfection, and now we're trying to do the imperfect in a sense. So we're trying to find those imperfect things that it's human. We make mistakes, and AI is like perfect, and that's not the real world. So it's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I have this like metaphor I've been trying to figure out in my mind, but like in the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey, like the other side of the water looked infinite, but really it's just a dome, and you can kind of touch the end of the dome. I feel like AI has done that to us a little bit, where like that dome, you can see the edge of the dome because the AI gets you out to the edge more quickly, and then you realize, wait, I'm now there's not much more beyond that. I can't really get the tools to go beyond what I'm dreaming of, or what the designs are, or what I'm trying to write, or whatever. Like it seems to like capture it all really quickly, and you're like, oh well, it's a very finite world we live in. But yeah, it's kind of a weird way of thinking of it, but that's how I've been feeling a lot lately. Is like I can see an AI output so fast, or reading someone's blog. It's the formatting is one way of doing it, but the words so repetitive. It's like there's no original thoughts. Like the world just got smaller really quickly.
I don't know. Maybe you're seeing bad AI outputs, Tim.
Maybe I am, but yeah.
It's getting really hard these days. I think maybe just if somebody's sloppy about it, then yeah. But for like illustration or even animations, man, I can't tell the difference. It's like a lot of the newer models are insanely good. And then again, if you get a good writer with AI, he'll just tap a couple of things and fix it, and it's still AI, but you just, you had someone that guided it, and then you can't tell the difference. So it's super hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
yeah,
think maybe that's what I'm feeling, is that you can't tell the difference. So it's almost like we got to the output so easy and so soon, where it used to take effort, and that effort is where we found like enjoyment, right? Because
Enjoy the
it
process.
took weeks
and
and
money.
figured stuff out, and nobody knew it. And now it's like, oh, we
Yeah,
can just get there, and
yeah,
you can't tell the difference. So there's no new, there's no struggle in some of that, I guess.
yeah,
There's frustration. I'm not saying that's not frustrating to work with that stuff,
yeah.
but the problem solving brains, they're not being used as much.
So true.
I don't know. What else?
Well,
What other questions or things you guys are seeing?
well for me, what the being a 3D motion graphics artist, the scary part is that what I'm worried about is the value of 3D work just going down because it can be generated so fast, right? So is the client going to pay us money to even go that route? Like, is that bringing him attention to have these 3D characters? Is that even working? Is that something they even want to do in a future, because it's going to be saturated with this stuff? Like, do they want? There's going to be something completely different. So, um, is our work just being completely like kind of the value in it being diminished just through these systems? But they don't want to even pay for it. It's like if you give it to for free.
Yeah,
So
right.
that might be happening as well. Yeah.
So I have an interesting take on this because we're bidding on a job right now for like an LED installation. And I've seen a couple other things like out in the space overall. Um, Background on AI is I feel like I'm not an expert, but I'm dangerous enough, to be like, hey, like I I know how to set up a system in like Comfy and start to do things that like make me feel uncomfortable with a 3D background of like feeding it inputs and things like that to be able to use it as a render engine. Um, but like the thing that I've seen is a lot of, I mean, we straight up lost one job because it was a local business doing home construction that was like, hey, I made some stuff in chat that looks like DreamWorks as stills. Like, how much is this going to cost me to make? And I was like, well, you want multiple spots for CTV, that whole thing. Like, I don't think we can get this to you in the level of detail and accuracy you need to be done in AI. Like, I could just be wrong with that with my experience, but that was a thing where like that just died. The thing we're bidding on now, it was like the entire pitch was done in AI. The client didn't like any of the options, and now we're being brought in as like, how can we actually make this? And like AI is certainly an option, but at the same time, like speaking with our client, who their client's a casino, like they're very concerned of like, how do we do feedback? How
Yeah.
do we make it? How do we make it adjustable? How do we do it? And I was like, yeah, that's why here's the number to do it. In a traditional like Unreal pipeline, we might use AI to generate some things, but like, here's how we can accomplish that. And I found that interesting now because like the pitch designs were beautiful, but would have been super hard if someone was like, hey, like that waterfall needs to be smaller, wider, further in the background, at least as far as I know, in how to accomplish those things. Um,
Yeah.
Even with some things of like using control net or something to like, map it to different phases. So I guess like my observation is I feel like it's getting people faster somewhere, but I don't know what it's doing in production. I mean, I know there's people using it fully in production.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like sometimes that's like then a vibe thing, or if you don't need to have like the amount of revisions or the intricate brand side of it, maybe then you can do it that way. And then you're still paying people to prompt, right? Like on a business side, like AI is not gonna. I still have to pay someone. Like if I'm busy and everyone here is busy, I still have to pay someone to sit there at the computer who's probably a 3D artist who's gonna prompt stuff in AI
Yeah.
and get a day rate to do that. Plus, I'm then spending whatever the credit value
Plus
is,
credits.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the weird like business side of it that I don't feel like faster than rendering it, sure, but at the same time, then there's still a weird business aspect to it that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be willing to kind of hear how you guys have explored the business side of it before I put my thoughts out there on what's there. But
One thing that we've noticed is the amount of producer hours are like increasing because of AI, because there's just so much content management that has to be done for a project. So the producer's just there sometimes like going through all the like all the versioning, and it's like it's before it's like maybe dozens, now it's could be hundreds of thousands. So it's the management part of it is increasing as well during production, which was yeah, interesting.
so just the overall babysitting, of like
Yeah, yeah.
reassembling the product as it goes along is not as easy as
Yeah, you had one creative director. It was like an early job with AI, and it was from McDonald's, and the guy just couldn't stop making versions. It's like version 356, 378 in like 2 or 3 days, and the before producers just trying to keep track of all the notes and all the versions. That was just nuts. Yeah.
oh yeah, for sure. Um, how about the charging side of it? I have a couple of thoughts of how to charge, but you definitely have to throw out some of the old models of how you would just do a day rate, because especially if you're burning credits, you have to be able to understand a limit of how much one person should output in a day, and not burn through more credits than you're getting paid for. Um, and then the person who's prompting, do they have the same value as somebody that had a 3D skill or not? Let's ask that second one first. Do you guys feel like the artists that were once like 2D or 3D animators that are now fully and AI and prompting, do you feel like they are retaining their value, meaning they should be paid the same as a prompting person as they were as a 3D or a 2D person?
Um, well, in my experience, it doesn't. I agree that the prompter, it's a good idea if they have a 3D background, they're a good artist, but not all the 3D artists are good prompters, and that's really strange to find out. You would think somebody has a lot of um, experience doing 3D spots. They're not good at prompting. Others are great at prompting, so it's super, varies quite differently. And a lot of the people that are great at prompting on our end, uh, their English skills are not that great either. So it's like somehow they have this magical connection with the computer, and they can really go in there and figure out how to do it. Don't get mad. Uh, so it's very interesting how that works. Yeah, it's not as straightforward as a translation as we
But the
thought.
but
Yeah.
the prompting tool is language agnostic, right? You could probably throw different. Is it? based off of English or needed to be based off English?
They'll prompt in English. That's the weird thing, but they're not, English is not their first language. And
Oh,
they
interesting.
get really good results, way better than I do. But somehow it's some people are naturally more inclined to figure out how the computer works inside and really like feel how that what it's asking you to do or what you want it to do. For example, I'm terrible at prompting, but yeah, even though I think I know what I want,
Yeah.
it just varies. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. There's a language skill to it, isn't it? What to include, how much detail, which adjectives to use, or
It's a science.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's writing a script.
Yeah.
The person
yeah.
stands up, it's day, it's night, it's inside, outside. You have to do everything to make it
Yeah.
more specific and yeah, to the
And a few
point.
times we hired developers that know Python to write prompts for some more complicated systems, and they were really good at that too. So it was
Oh,
interesting to see how that worked. Like when you hired a developer, he was like took a different approach and he got way better results than anybody else, even though it's just English. But
yeah. Seth, explain that to us. You're a programmer guy.
Yeah, I'm digging all the perspectives here. Yeah, it's weird. One of the spaces that I think is being eaten up by AI happens to be my field, which is engineering. It's one of the first things they're really going after because once you can build tooling, it allows you to kind of do well in any industry that is largely systematized. Um, yeah, I agree. I think there is a lot of change happening. I think for myself, I've found a lot of developer friends are actually finding, we were worried that, there were going to be a lot of jobs going away. And really what we're finding is more small and medium-sized companies want their own developer or their own person on staff to be able to navigate kind of these new rules, right? And because a lot of developers understand the engineering behind these tools and what makes LLMs work, a lot of times they understand what they need in order to function well and how to tweak those little systems.
Is the value the same though? Is the value more? Like I'm gonna guess a good prompter is worth more than a bad prompter. That one's pretty obvious. Um, if the person was used to being paid well as a designer, and now they're not so great of a prompter, that person's gonna take a hit, right?
Yeah, I think the fire hose problem is real. Whereas before you'd show 3 comps on something and, now a client's calling you and they have 400 comps in the chamber before they've even met you. It's a different kind of communication. The thing that always I try to remind myself is just, I mean, most clients are not hiring us to be artists. They're hiring us because they want us to build something that gets results for whatever their product or service is. And the hardline question has to be, regardless of how the sausage is made, is it still performing the job to be done for the client? And that's ultimately, I think, what we're going to be held accountable to.
So you're saying the biggest way we're being judged is the output. That's the first thing we have to be considerate of.
Yeah,
And
most
And
clients that
value.
came to me and were like, "Hey, can we use AI?" And they're not looking to be cheap just to be cheap, but when they're spending 80 grand on a spot that gets them 2 sales or 3 sales, it's there's just so many different channels and ways that they're begging for attention and harder to get that attention. They're sensitive, of course, to price.
yeah. So I still kind of have the question of what does this mean with our relationship with our clients? Because that's probably as business owners that we're thinking about most is how do we retain the relationships? And I kind of firmly believe that retention is the new growth. Like to get a relationship that someone trusts you and you can keep on exploring is a much more higher value proposition right now than trying to find somebody new and do the same thing you've done for client A with the new client B. I think we're being asked to do something different every time. So retaining the client has such a different value. But retention often takes a relationship part of it. There's a relationship economy to it. So
I think relationship is the most important aspect, just from everything I'm seeing, because my area of
Essential.
expertise is AI and engineering, and so that's what I've kind of been diving my head into. But I think that human element is more important than ever, especially as people are drinking from a fire hose of content that just kind of starts to all meld together and become, I don't know, just bland, right? So we're looking for that connection. It's just different. I think clients that sense that we're trying to fight progress or fight this change at the expense of their own result are are the ones that are shying away from us. But if we have clients that are like, hey, AI is scary. I don't know what the world looks like. All I know is my boss wants me to get results. Can you be my partner in this? If we can find a way to navigate it with them, that relationship really strengthens.
yeah. So where's the
I think
tension in the relationships nowadays then? So we know that we need it and we know that when we win it, it's well, but do you have a sense of where the tensions are? Like, do they last as long? Do the clients kind of know they can bounce from person to person so they're not being as loyal as they used to be?
I think overall people just want to be understood, and maybe what Seth said, that since things are changing, technology is changing, maybe try to find a better way to to make things happen for them, like to actually, like, not the 80,000 and get two people, but actually something that really works, but using what we have today and using better tools. I don't know, maybe it's just trying to be the guide for them.
Yeah,
But I think everyone, in a sense, like the human, we as human beings, we just want to be understood. And when you have that relationship and you understand what you want, you don't assume. We try to with something think what they want because we want it or something like that. We just have to be there and hear them out. Like, listen, active listening is essential for the relationship, and know where they, not what they want, but what they really need to make improvements or something. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So if you think about the last time you lost a project to a client, do you know, and I'll just say like, and you know why? What was the reason? What that you lost the project? Was it the design wasn't right? The price wasn't right. The They didn't like your Axe body spray smell when you walked into the room.
It's happened to me. I lose 99% of my pitches
That's
for
why.
that. Yeah.
That's why I threw that out there, Jay. It was
Yeah.
a
You know my pain.
passive aggressive thing I just did for you. So what's causing you to possibly lose um, um, projects nowadays? Oh, Laura says communication. Competition?
Price, maybe. I mean, we see like even like other shops popping up, and yeah, even doing it cheaper. We've seen that for some of our ad agency work. Yeah.
Okay. So so then the last time you won a client, did the client choose you because your price was best? Or did something else distinguish you besides price?
Do it some complete different. Just try to say like, hey, go this way. Let's try this thing, and then we're able to get a decent client that way.
Yeah,
Also the connection that you make with that person. When there's click, I think they don't care how much you charge. They trust you. I think trust is also essential in this relationship. And it's like in music, when I play with there's musicians that I can't play with. There's no communication, and there's others that we just sit and it flows. So I think that also is it also affects in that decision.
yeah. I'm always kind of curious when with those two questions, because I think we often I even think we're told, right, by clients like, hey, we didn't choose you, you were too expensive. Maybe that's a really common thing we hear when we're rejected. But maybe that's also just a really easy thing that they can tell you. Where we often, when we win, we don't feel like we won because we were the lowest price leader. Maybe we just don't want to tell ourselves that. Maybe so we lie to ourselves and say, no, we actually are getting the most we can out of this project. We don't want to believe we just cut everyone's prices and did that. But I often feel like maybe there's more truth to what our value is. And Vasile, it's interesting you're saying like just doing something different is how you stand out, so much more than just cutting the price. So in the whatever kind of shift we're going through, it's almost good to remember that, because the economy is asking us to do something different more and more. I believe what it's asking us to do, the economy is asking us to do more and more, is do something unique every time, and I don't think we're really used to that. And I think that's where it's weird. Like we're still winning enough, but every project feels like it's earned harder either to get the project or to get the project done. It just feels like it's harder work than it's been in the past. And where, for at least the last 15 years, you can be known for something. Like, oh, Spilt stands out because of their production quality and they're in this certain field. So you're known for that within that client base. And I think that being known quality is changing also. We're not known for almost like nobody's known for the stuff that's coming in the future. So everyone's somewhat equal. The earth was flattened a little bit with the technology shift. But we also can't rely on, just because we did something well 3 years ago, that anyone's going to find any value in that today. But the way you think or the way you act, it does feel like the winning combination. And it's why, like, especially in the high stress industries like entertainment, where it's horribly competitive, there are still some agencies that are top tier and keep on winning. But their innovation, even in idea and concept or output, is kind of where they're pushing themselves. But they're also feeling the stress. They're also feeling like, everything is harder to earn than ever before. Yeah. Well, do you guys want any answers to any of this? It's funny, they ask me anything usually means you ask me the questions, but I feel like I asked all the questions today. But just an excuse to kind of talk about something. It's hard to put any of these thoughts into just one topic. And often, like when I feel like when I pick a topic or something like that, the way you guys hear it is, hey, here's the answer to the problem you're having. And sometimes I actually just know the answer to the problem you're having and I can say it. But this shift that's taking place is not really clear, and I don't think that the answers are really clear. So want to know more.
My question to you, Tim, also is like, we're feeling the squeeze like as studios because our clients are going to AI. Is there going to be a point in like a couple of years where those clients, like those major studios and networks, are going to start really getting competition from AI themselves, where the movies they're generating no longer end up being anybody's watching, or the ad agencies are getting canned as well. So do you see that happening right now, or no? Are they feeling the pain as well? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to just say, of course, that's where this is going. It seems to, I don't even think it's being hidden very well. That's why the tech companies are buying up the film studios, is because they kind of know that they're going to be able to produce something at an amazing scale, or make it dynamic produced content. And we're already out of that like pop culture economy where one thing could be recognized across, a large body of people, and we all have one single viewing audience watching something besides maybe sports. We don't really get those bubbles anymore. So I know the shift is going there. My expectation, and I think what a lot of people are investing in is the term I've been using is future native. I think the only thing we're doing right now with these tools is producing things we've made in the past. and they haven't really evolved to make something brand new because of the capabilities. And I think that's the tipping point many of us are going to be waiting for, because when that future native thing comes out, it's going to have similar challenges to what we've been used to in the past in getting something done, right? You know, a problem solving nature or a quality nature to it. But right now we're just simply comparing what we've been able to do in the past with what the technology today, and it's keeping up with our past demands. And that's where it's getting kind of almost boring, because you're like, okay, great, it can make something we've always made. But just to make something we've always made faster doesn't necessarily mean it's going to improve it. So, but I can't tell you what that future native moment is. If I could tell you, I'd be investing in that company right now, because it's gonna be a major tipping point, like it has in the past. Vasile, I also feel like some of the stuff you're doing where, you know, there's an embrace of the technology. You guys have embraced the technology sooner than a lot of design companies, and willing to kind of ask bigger questions. So there's going to be almost like where there are agency models, which is, hey, here's a marketing problem. Can you hire studios and production companies to help us produce those elements to get our marketing material complete, right? That stuff is kind of break, because we don't, once you have a marketing strategy, anybody somewhere along the way is going to prompt it to get the output. So we don't have to be 3 or 4 layers deep in the production of those items. But it doesn't mean that the technology evolution won't be asking something different. So instead of walking and saying, hey, we want this creative thing, can you make something creative? I think they're going to ask you for something for like, hey, this creative thing, which we all agree, you know, we want your vision and creative vision there. We also need a technical execution of it. We want to hit a certain scale or certain dynamic quality to it, or be available at this trade show in a way that no one's seen before. And that's where you're going to be adding a totally different skill level to your roster, which I think is also very exciting. That's probably the evolution I saw 30 years ago when all the digital stuff came out. I think that's going to be exciting again when that's defined a little bit more.
Yeah, and I just, you're good at future, because I remember talking to you about NFTs when they're hot. And there was a company that just didn't want to take any money from corporations. And you're like, you guys are idiots. What do you think? And you're like, and I'm like, Tim, you don't. I was like, maybe he doesn't know. Like, the NFT is gonna really be even hotter. And then,
Well, the
yeah,
NFT
so
space was so funny because, you know, we could talk about it.
that's,
It's really
yeah.
awesome. But
That was the height of motion graphics. I think we reached that peak
was
right
the
there, where it's like,
yes.
it was all downhill. All boats sunk after that
It
one
might have
too.
been it might have been its flaming glory as it crashed into the side of the mountain.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the height of
Like
height.
that, yeah.
It was
A
good. It
height
was,
and the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knew we'd experience it all in just 6 months?
oh,
Like,
oh,
the
question
crash
for you,
came
Tim.
pretty fast.
Yeah.
Did you still keep your, what was it? Geez, who's the artist?
People.
Yeah, did you keep your Beeple NFT or no?
I just sold my Beeple like a month ago.
No.
We're closing in on a new rental, and I was like, yeah, I could probably just sell this thing off now and help put the down payment on a rental property. So yeah.
Oh, okay. It's still worth something, yeah.
It was worth something. Yeah.
It was okay. Gotcha.
I didn't lose that. I did not lose that badly in the NFT space. The stuff I lost on was
Yeah.
the project I was on. We were kind of told to hold on to it even though it was crashing, because if everybody who was in leadership started selling off their NFTs, we'd probably.
Sorry, guys. I gotta run. I got a call. But thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Tim. Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, we can wrap up today. I don't know what you guys want any more to process, but
I have a question for you. Is there anything other than what you just mentioned that you're excited about, or that you're optimistic about in the next 3 years or so?
Besides what I just mentioned, I think you know, Ed, I don't know how much you're getting into this with the trade show space that you're in, but for some reason the environmental graphic space seems to be expanding. So I don't know if it's just more people are finding that as a capability and are moving towards that space, or the demand is growing. But the fact that a screen is being wrapped everywhere, like the sphere, for example, the sphere thing I think is such a trophy piece of what's possible when it comes to marketing, environmental, classy. I've never seen it in person. I've only seen it, the same clips that you guys have all seen, but I still find it impressive. And I've never stood next to a Pixel in Las Vegas. So I think there's something that's evolving that way, and the technology elements to it are there. I also really am jazzed about the storytelling elements. Even though I've seen things that I know are AI generated, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Runway just did like a campaign or a contest. I think it's a contest where you could make a trailer using Runway, make a trailer for a movie that doesn't yet exist. So, and just making the trailer elements. And I watched a lot of those trailers, and some of them are just hilarious. I mean, some people just are so funny. But the fact that like one or two people can prompt their way through an entire trailer and make something that entertained me for 30 or 40 minutes, like that's pretty amazing. And I think that's really fun. I think that's really fun, actually. So I have a feeling those things are going to be part of our pop culture in the near future. Is we're gonna know on a tour, almost like it sounds almost silly, but like a Tim Burton or a Steven Spielberg who has a certain storytelling quality in feature film. I think we're going to know individuals have storytelling quality that use AI to get there, and we're going to talk about them like we talk about Chris Nolan. You're going to be like, oh, that's such a blah 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 blah. So that's another future native movement that's taking place, and it's always, I like to say it, it's always about the circus. Like you have to get an elephant, and all that elephant does is eat and poop, but you buy the elephant so that people come and look at it, because it keeps their attention for a while as they're doing it. And our space is that way. Like, so if you can build a really cool elephant and keep people's attention for 45 minutes to 2 hours using an AI tool, there's going to be some value in that in the future for sure.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't like the deep fake part of it though. That's what I'm concerned. That with that comes, fake documentaries also. And I think that's a really troublesome output for this thing. It's good,
Yeah,
reality, but it's troublesome to me.
many actors and singers have signed copyright material, so they can't use their image or voice for deepfake. They're
Yeah,
trying
I
to.
just don't know if we. I don't know if we care. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I can make a documentary, documentaries are so interesting because it really helps you relate to a person, an individual, an athlete, I don't know, somebody's historical. There's just something about documentary storytelling that when we register it, we're registering it as knowledge. And then, so the fact that somebody can make a documentary, even if it's not with known actors or whatever, but just go and build something and put it, I think it's going to register in our minds in a certain way of that becomes a truth. And it's not, it doesn't have to be true. It can be true. There are probably some great things there, but I'm a little concerned that we don't have the tools, the mental tools to know the difference when we're being tricked that way. And that manipulation, it's disturbing to me.
That is a danger.
Yeah.
And especially for kids, because we as adults, we come from different paths and different we were born different in a sense. Like we had a lot of manual things.
Yeah.
They grow up with this, so obviously their belief in what they see is harder to.
Well, you would think adults have that ability, but
Some.
if we had that ability, like MSNBC and Fox News and CNN wouldn't exist, right?
Right.
But they do
True.
exist because adults also get pulled into crazy, deep, weird ideas, no matter what the way.
An interesting trend I'm seeing is with some younger kids are treating anything that looks good as AI. I heard some kids the other day just being like, "Oh, that's AI," and it was purely because it was really well done.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, that's where you almost wonder if the value is there anymore. Because if you don't get credit for your hard work, does it really matter? Yeah. There was a Milan Design Week. Gucci took over a cathedral, and they made 105 tapestries for their 105-year anniversary. And they told the story of Gucci very literally in tapestry format. Like they made the textile tapestries and created them. And I found that to be one incredibly fascinating that there's a technology that can output, I don't how many days did those guys have to make those tapestries and get them out the door. But the fact that it was done in a material format, like you couldn't, it wasn't printed, it wasn't fake, it was put through a loom and created that way. I think that's really, really interesting, where we're taking new imagery and new ideas and then moving it back to the most ancient artifacts of storytelling, or some of the most ancient artifacts of storytelling. It's really fascinating to me. I think that's kind of fun that we're refinding those, because we have to prove it's not AI in a way.
Yeah, it's true. And many AI, I think it was an animation film, that they done, well, it was done by humans, and they were saying it was AI because AI was trained
Yeah.
with some of their designs. So they were like, this is like, we did it. It's not AI. But also that's happening too, that
Yeah.
it's
Well,
their work, it's their craft.
I'm gonna have a similar experience when I saw the latest trailer for the last Avatar movie. It was a year ago or something like that, whenever the thing came out. But I remember looking at it and going like, geez, who cares? AI can do that like really fast. You know what I mean? Like Avatar, the whole movie is just could be, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of could be prompted. It's just creatures. It didn't have to be anything at all. So I know there is some hand quality to it, but I think there's also some Unreal Engine being used with Avatar, so it's somewhat dynamically created also. Any other thoughts, questions? I know we're past our time, but I like hanging out with you guys. So if you want to hang out more, I'm happy to do it. All right. Well, good to see you guys. Thanks for being part of the conversation today. Great to have you.
Thanks, Tim.
Of course.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll see
Thank
you guys
you.
later.
Bye bye.
Bye.